For centuries, cisgender men have held a superiority complex over all other genders. It's a problem that surpasses age, race, and rank. No better evidence do we have for this than the aristocracy, who have for centuries deemed men more adept to rule than women. Queen consorts are within a rank of their own, with hundreds of minute expectations thrust upon their shoulders. They must be graceful but strong, and never show weakness. They must also be delicate and dainty so as to please their king, but must resist anger when they are replaced with a much younger and prettier mistress. Any queen who challenges their king is branded a whore, a seductress, and a witch. The most infamous queen consort branded as such was, of course, Anne Boleyn, second wife of King Henry VIII of England. After failing to give birth to a healthy baby boy, Henry had given up on the woman he had abandoned his first wife for. No expense was spared finding ways to frame the smitten queen, lies such as her having 6 fingers, a sign of a witch back then, and having incestuous relations with her own brother were created, and she eventually lost her head. Anne Boleyn became a cautionary tale to every Tudor queen following her. Jane Seymour escaped Henry's wrath by giving birth to a son and heir, and passing away swiftly after. Anne of Cleves was quick to agree to an annulment from Henry, as soon as it was clear things weren't working out, and even outlived him in the end. Catherine Howard wasn't so lucky. She met the same accusations and fate of Anne Boleyn. Henry's final wife almost met the same fate as well, but Catherine Parr learned from her mistakes, and used her femininity as a tool to convince Henry she didn't know what she was doing. In his eyes, women were on no level similar to men, not in strength or in mind, and she used this to her advantage. In Henry's eyes, all of his wives, except Jane Seymour and his beloved sister Anne of Cleves, were wicked queens. Despite being real historical figures, their images were manipulated to such an extent that they became figureheads for the future trope, and it didn't stop at Henry's wives. After his son's death, his daughter Mary followed and branded Queen Jane, selected by King Edward over Mary, a traitor, and had her executed after just 9 days on the throne. She even dabbled with the idea of executing her Protestant sister Elizabeth, and had no qualms of executing any other Protestants, killing over 300 religious dissenters over her reign, giving her the title Bloody Mary, and cementing her legacy as a truly wicked queen. Not that her younger sister was any better. She was after all the figurehead of the colonizers slaughtering indigenous people for their land and reaping the riches that came from it. Since the Tudors, queens and women in powerful positions have all been villainized in some way or another, such as Marie Antoinette, who faced the guillotine after insensitively flaunting her privilege. These queens inspired fictional depictions of more literal wicked queens. Most famously, the queen from Snow White, a literal witch who poisons a young girl and who, in the original story, was only 7 years old, purely because she's jealous of her looks. She's depicted as a narcissist and possible cannibal, ordering the huntsman to retrieve Snow's heart so she may consume it and prove she's dead. Tony the drama queen had a similar plan. He wanted Marie's heart out of jealousy for her being the most popular in the bar. Other queens who will stop at nothing to get what they want include the Snow Queen Jadis from the Chronicles of Narnia and the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. All are bloodthirsty women who demand the attention of their subjects and the blood of their victims. This dangerous woman trope is a creation of misogynistic ideals created by the patriarchy and upheld by societal views on gender. These queens actively defy what is expected of women in the real world. They don't have children, in fact they hate children. They care more about their own goals over their husbands, often outdoing their husbands in attitude. Some are even husbandless, which is of course seen as a no-no in aristocratic society. Queen Elizabeth I of England was the first Queen Regent of England to not have a husband, and not just that, but actively refused to take one. Though she was a queen much loved by the end of her reign, she had to fight to be recognised as worthy to rule under her own agency. To get to a place she was respected, she also had to take up a more cutthroat and wicked persona, which resulted in her beheading her own cousin, Mary Queen of Scots. The Virgin Queen was likely not a literal virgin, at least in today's definition of a virgin, but she used this image to cement herself as the one in charge, an image which has been tainted as undesirable in future depictions in media. She became a threat to the status quo, and lost her femininity in the process. This idea that a woman who don't take on traditional and stereotypical women's roles makes them more masculine is of course ridiculous and transphobic. There have been those creating myths that Elizabeth I must have been born with a penis simply because she refused to marry a man. The Wicked Queen is often masculinized. They adopt more stereotypically masculine tendencies. They become apathic and distant, distressed that their femininity isn't up to par with what is expected of them. The Queen from Snow White especially struggles with her femininity not being recognised, to the point she feels threatened by a literal child. The Queen of Hearts and Jadis also use and exploit children for their own gain. Queen of Hearts forces Alice to play croquet with her, and Jadis manipulates Edmund into betraying his siblings so she can get what she wants. Child-hating is a staple trope for the Wicked Queen archetype. Without a son and heir, a queen means nothing to her king. It's a fear hundreds of women throughout history have experienced. That's not to say this is a trend seen all over the world. In many non-European cultures, women are regarded as having an equal, if not higher status to men within their communities. This is something colonialists actively set out to destroy. Even today, women are treated as second-class citizens. If you're not a straight, cisgender white woman especially, then you're screwed. And the Wicked Queen trope does nothing to help. In recent years, I would argue this trope has evolved to include princesses and duchesses, as well as queens, continuing with Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, who the media desperately tries to highlight every little flaw in. For the most part, the future is looking a little more promising. Historical queens such as Anne Boleyn are finally getting the love and attention they deserve. But as long as women are treated as second-class citizens, they will continue to be scrutinised by the media for not living up to patriarchal views on gender, allowing maggots like Andrew Tate and Ben Shapiro to find a platform and a following to consume their bigotry. There is no easy fix. We are all playing a part in the problem. We need to keep speaking out against bigotry in all its forms and uplift the voices of all people who are impacted by misogynistic societal norms, so that they can have a say in their own rights and needs. If another Wicked Queen archetype is to pop up, it's likely to take the form of another misogynist, like it did with Tony the Drama Queen, because it's misogyny we have to fight against, not those it directly impacts. Tony's death has given me the gift to channel my seeing powers through mirrors to see those I care about, like watching them on TV. For that I am thankful. Killing him has opened my eyes to seeing the world from another perspective. When we remove misogyny from the picture, the beauty of the world becomes much clearer.